Over the course of the last week, there's been a lot of gnashing of teeth over shortcomings in the way Warcraft 3 Reforged has tried to freshen up an 18-year-old RTS classic. And while there are some cut corners and buggy menus dragging things down, what made Warcraft 3 great mostly still holds up today. After an MMO and 7 expansions, a digital card game, and a feature film, Reign of Chaos and the Frozen Throne still represent the pinnacle of the Warcraft franchise in many ways, and the new coat of paint makes it even more enjoyable to revisit this peak. What struck me the most in the 7 full-length single-player campaigns included with Reforged was how dynamic and compelling the storytelling used to be in this universe. Warcraft 3 hit before the constraints of a faction-focused PvP MMO and a roughly 2-year expansion cycle put Blizzard's writers in a bit of a box. The tale of Arthas' fall, the reawakening of the Night Elves, Kael'thas leading his people into exile, and the first major confrontation with the Burning Legion comprise a wonderful fantasy epic. And the mission design, particularly in the Frozen Throne campaigns, would still hold up against the cream of today's strategy crop. World of Warcraft, at its very best, can brush up against these heights, but it has never truly surpassed them. If you've never experienced this story before, the memorable characters, meaningful twists, dramatic changes of fate, and climactic confrontations are worth the price of admission on their own. Each of the 4 factions presents an interesting and different playstyle, from the fairly conventional humans to the aggressive horde to the completely out there undead scourge. Winning in multiplayer still heavily focuses on heroes and who can gobble up the most experience points from neutral monsters the fastest, which can be frustrating if you get your perfect army crushed because the other team's champions out-farmed you. But once you get a grasp on how this is a different Kodo beast from other RTSs, it offers new and exciting challenges and strategies. For a veteran like myself, the visual upgrade is the biggest draw aside from nostalgia, and in that, Reforged only partially succeeds. On the one hand, this is the best the characters and units from the Warcraft universe have ever looked, even including the recent model updates in WoW. The visual style is a bit more realistic and gritty, and closer to the look of a Blizzard cinematic than the slightly cartoonier, more stylized version of the world we've grown accustomed to. When I really zoom in to look at the details on a Peon or a Death Knight, it makes me wish World of Warcraft looked this good. The environments haven't been given quite as much love. The HD textures are crisp and attractive, and they've added more 3D vegetation to give the land some depth, but the level geometry is still pretty blocky and dated looking. The trees aren't very detailed compared to the ghouls whacking away at them, and what's going on with this waterfall? Is this just ported directly from the original version? I think they missed a spot. I've been lucky enough not to run into any serious bugs so far, but the menus feel very finicky and half-baked. They lag and freeze regularly, sometimes the map for the next mission doesn't even display correctly on the loading screen, buttons are unresponsive, UI elements in the post-battle summary can overlap and become unreadable. It's the least polished element of the whole affair by far. Venturing out from the excellent campaign mode into multiplayer, I didn't find it hard to have a good time though. There are some features from the original disappointingly missing, like custom campaign support and automated tournaments, but what is here works pretty well. You can still jump into dozens of diverse custom maps, featuring everything from Lord of the Rings-inspired battles to tower defense. The skirmish matchmaking is fast, painless, and did a pretty good job of placing me with similarly skilled opponents. Of course, the UI still managed to get in its own way here. I could never get the custom map browser to sort properly, forcing me to scroll down hunting for matches with low ping. Warcraft 3 is still probably my favorite Warcraft game of all time, and one of my favorite fantasy stories in any video game. The visual update to all its beloved and behated characters is all the reason I needed to want to experience it again. It's not perfect, it's not everything we may have expected, But it's Warcraft 3. It's still a great game nearly 2 decades after its release, and the relatively minor shortcomings of this edition shouldn't stop you from returning to this classic Age of Azeroth or diving in for the first time. For more strategy, check out our reviews of Phoenix Point and the Dark Crystal Age of Resistance Tactics. And for everything else, stick with IGN.